Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about flageolet versus whistle voice. Now, for a little while, I was kind of unsure if these were actually two different things, and I'm still not 100% sure. For a while, I thought that they were the same voicing, but now I'm kind of thinking that maybe they are two different voicings, but at least from the very little experimentation I've done, to me, I could see where there is a difference between flageolet and whistle voice. Very small difference. So very similar to when we go into our mixed voice, we're using a thinner part of our vocal cords. When we're transitioning from a more chesty, resonant sound, we're using a thick part of our vocal cords when we're singing in our chest voice. And then when we go up higher, we're using we're using a thinner part and thinning into the mask, right? So, to me, when I'm in what I think is flageolet and trying to go into a whistle, it seems like it's very similar, but the same idea. We're going and using a thinner part of our vocal cord. So, for example, so if we're in falsetto, same thing going into flageolet. We're basically thinning out our vocal tone and using a thinner part of our vocal cords, right? Okay, so now I've probably said this before in one of my videos, but a lot of people get confused about head voice and falsetto. In my opinion, they're the same thing. Basically, when people say falsetto is different from head voice, people say head voice is stronger than falsetto. Falsetto is a weak, airy sound like, hey, that's falsetto. Or, and this is head voice. It's not a different voicing. I'm just actually using more power, more resonance. There's more chord closure. So if your falsetto sounds like this, it's probably just because it's really weak and you haven't strengthened it. So once you do exercises and pinpoint your falsetto to get strong, it becomes more resonant, just like any part of your voice. Right? It's not different than, it's just there's much more air coming through. There's much more air, right? As opposed to more chord closure. Okay, you get the idea. Okay, so as we go up higher in our falsetto, um, um, I'd say a little above E, maybe, you'll find that we have to use a lot of air pressure to get a full falsetto up there. So if I do an ooh here, right? Sorry. Sorry, I was getting confused by my keyboard settings. Okay. Right? Having to use a little bit more air in this range. Right? More and more air pressure. It doesn't sound bad, but when we get up to G, around G sharp, I kind of have to modify the vowel because we're getting so high in this part of our falsetto. So if I were to do E here, right, I have to use a lot of air pressure. It's hard to do a very true E. But if I thin that into a flageolet, I can do a very closed vowel, right? I can do much more vibrato because it's on a thinner part of your vocal cord as well. So I would call this flageolet. So let's go down a little bit just to demonstrate again. Full falsetto around E5. Full falsetto. Now if we start on a thinner part of our vocal cord, almost like a whimper, like, right, like a puppy or something. So full falsetto, you'll feel much more air pressure needed, and it's going to need to be louder to project when you're using that much air pressure. So if you stay in this thinner flageolet production, if you use a little more air pressure, you can thicken it out and into almost like a falsetto blend, kind of like when you're in mask and you're blending into your chest. Kind of similar idea if I start really thin. If I try to almost as if I'm leaning it into my chest to make it a fuller sound, it almost gets into like a falsetto flageolet mix. Right? Okay, so that's what I would think is flageolet. And to be honest, I only use this part of my voice mostly for like vocal harmonies in songs that I'm recording. I don't sing like, classical soprano on stage or recording or anything like that. It's really just for nice high harmonies, or if I really want to show off for a little note, why not? But whenever I warm up, I almost never go above C6, and I never need to even use that really. Yeah. So if we keep going up with flageolet, eventually, for me at least, when I get around C6, it feels like I've kind of reached my limit with that voicing. So if I'm in A, here's A5, flageolet, B flat, B5, right? I really have to thin out here. Now again, this is really high, but also it's hard for me to get a lot of projection here. One, because I don't try to go up here that often, but it's also really high. So yeah, obviously there are some sopranos that can hit a C6 with more resonance than what I am right now, because they have to train to do it, right? So around here, we're getting almost into the Mariah Carey whistle tones, but not quite, right? She goes up maybe another octave at most, I think. I don't think she can go above C7, but maybe she can. Anyway, so around here, if we start to experiment with the same thing I was talking about from a full falsetto into a flageolet, if we start to do that here, so let's try a full flageolet. Right? Not easy, but if we try to do that same thing but thinner, I'm going to go ahead and I haven't done this that much. I'm going to go ahead and maybe sound like an idiot for a second for you guys. So if we try to do the same production where I just showed you falsetto and flageolet up here, a thinner whimper than the flageolet, just like I just did with the falsetto flageolet. Flageolet, right? Now try to thin it out. Now it feels different, right? It's much quieter. I can get a lot of vibrato, and it feels like, this, maybe now we're in whistle voice, right? Now let's try to manipulate the pitch. So yes, this is a different, we're in a much thinner part of our vocal cord here. Okay, so that's A6. It's usually, I've only gotten to A6 a few times. Yeah, B flat's not gonna work right now. I never do this, but that's still pretty good. Anyway, so this is, I guess, if I were to call whistle voice a thing, whistle voice here. A6. I would probably very, very rarely use any notes up here. Like, I don't know. Like, you have to start a song saying, like, I'm going to use these crazy whistle tones just to show off, basically. Um, but anyway, that's kind of how I would go about experimenting with this part of your voice. Um, Try to do little whimpers and transition from full falsetto to a thinner flageolet. Right, like we just did together. Um, and same thing with the whistle voice. It's pretty much the same thing. We're doing flageolet, which is thinner than falsetto, and then we're trying to start that same production even thinner and quieter into a whistle, and then expand and go up higher with that thinner production, right? Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. Wasn't the prettiest whistle voice, I know that, but yeah, if you have any questions, comments, hope this helped in any way with your understanding, or hopefully will help you expand your range a little bit. But yeah, thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next one.